Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Credits and Chords. I am your host, Practical, joined by the fellas.
Danny boy.
It's Rex.
Hey, what's up? It's Brandon.
Hell yeah. And today we're talking about progressive rock band Coheed and Cambria. Coheed and Cambria is a pretty cool band in the sense that they tell the majority of their story through their lyrics and, kind of do the whole concept album thing 95% of the time, with the exception of like one album. And they'll find new ways to talk about other characters within their own universe, which is pretty cool and makes for an interesting array of albums. Today we're going to talk about 5 albums that Danny picked, or 6 albums, excuse me. I forgot that he
I know I went over the allotment. I'm sorry.
We're going to be talking the Second Stage Turbine Blade, In Keeping Secrets, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Vaxis Act 1, 2, and 3. We'll get into their individual names as we roll forward. The band is made up of 4 members, the dominant one being Mr. Claudio Sanchez. He is the vocalist and guitar player. Travis Stever is the lead guitarist, the man responsible for all the noodling. Zach Cooper is their most recent member, a bass player who's replaced a previous member who was, I think, accused of robbing a bank or some shit. I forgot. I read something about that shit. Yeah. And then drummer / rapper Josh Eppard also goes by the name awesome. Weird Science in the hip hop realm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's talk Coheed and Cambria, fellas. Take us away, Danny boy.
Well, I chose this as one of my first musical choices because of this other gentleman here, Mr. Brandon. I kind of listened to these guys in high school, but like wasn't super into them. It wasn't until I met Brandon about a decade ago or so that I really started getting into them and really appreciating the music a little bit more, especially the drumming. You know, I'm a sucker for drums. Josh is so good, dude, and he plays open drums. So that means, hold on, let me put my mic down for a second. So instead of playing like this, like crossing your arms, he plays open. So he hits the hi-hat with like his opposite hand and hits his, snare and toms with his other hand, which I think is an interesting drumming quality to have, because I don't play like that. But watching him play and how enthusiastic he is into it, it may sound like a simple drum beat, but he's putting his freaking heart and soul into that shit. So I respect that. But the guitars are, that's absolutely my guy. The guitars are so iconic. Obviously Welcome Home being like their opus, if you will, their big hit. I love that they always close with that song because it's just so shreddy and just badass. But yeah, they're a feel good band, honestly. They're not super, super heavy. They do have an occasional heavy song here and there. But I like, I chose these 6 albums because I like those first 3 and how kind of raw they were. And especially that first album, it sounds like literally they recorded it in a garage, which is badass. And then the final 3, the most recent 3 that they've done, not to diss the albums in between by any means, because there's some good songs on there, but I just like the most 3 current albums, especially the 2 before the most recent release. I felt like those are like the ones that I listen to frequently. So it was nice to go back and listen to the older stuff though, because you really appreciate their sound kind of keeping the same but getting better. But yeah, I just obviously the drumming I love, but the shredding of the guitars is so badass. But yeah, it's never been a band that's like hard to show someone because either they scream or it's too heavy for them or whatever. They're kind of a nice in between, if you will, at certain times. So yeah, this band rules. I love them. They're great.
Yeah, Rex, tell us a little bit about your involvement with Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah, the first song I ever heard was, Welcome Home. That was, it was the song that was going around. Yeah, no, it was going around school. It was during that time where, all these screaming bands and pop or screamo emo bands were coming out, whatever you want to call them. and this kind of popped in with them, so this is where I heard them, but I didn't really pick up on it till probably after high school, and that's when I started listening to Turbine and Silent in Keeping Secrets, and yeah, I never really got too crazy into them. I've always wanted to see them live, but
they're good.
Oh yeah, I've seen them a few times.
I've heard that from everybody who's ever seen them live. They're so sick, and I want to see them, but they've never been like a huge band I was crazy into.
I like to think of them kind of as emo adjacent because they were around that time period. So like,
right.
Well, and
some
his
of their
voice
lyrics
too.
and his voice.
Yeah, his
and,
voice
exactly.
was the thing that everybody was like, "Oh, that's got to be emo. He sounds like a girl."
Mm-hmm.
And this dude's got like a great voice.
He's got good
They ain't
range.
wrong.
He's got good range, good voice. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of the songs are pretty emo in lyrical content. Like
Absolutely.
Well, the whole
Absolutely.
storytelling of the graphic novels or whatever that he made, you know, it's kind of hard to follow if you're not really super into it, I guess. I mean, I know it's hard for me to follow, but I do know that they
don't
have a
ask me
kid.
about it.
I know they have a kid
Yeah,
named
no.
Axis. That's about it. But
I know a few things. I've picked up one of their comics before, but yeah, as far as their lyrical content, I just kind of take it as it is and not really knowing what who they're talking about. But I'm like, yeah, this is tight.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's just
Like-
groovy ass. Like
Mhm.
all right.
Yeah, they're great.
He's talking
They're
about a
amazing
chick
musicians.
that jilted
like,
him. He's or he's like sad because
Or going to
No.
war. Like they're
Yeah,
going
he
to
went to
war and
war and-
stuff. Yeah, it was.
yeah, he's always going to
They
war.
just know how to present it great. Yeah, it's always going to war, but their comics like called the Armory Wars or something.
Hell
now
yeah,
they had like
Armor
a
Wars.
kid, I guess.
Something
Yeah,
is what I'm
Axis.
told by the music videos.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
There's like a child involved.
I haven't seen a music video from them in like 10 years, so I have no idea. But they're great. Like, not to knock on them at all. They just are one I never super got into till after high school. And even then, I was just listening to the albums. I never dug in any deeper. If
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
came out, I'd be like, oh, sweet. This is a sweet album. And,
Right.
you know, I really like, you didn't put on here, but No World for Tomorrow and
Yeah, I almost
Black
put that
Rainbow.
one on. Yeah.
I
Good
think
one.
those two albums are sweet.
They're good.
But yeah,
we'll
no,
brush
these guys
up
are
on
tight.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty good. I've been listening to them for, feels like forever now because I remember the music video for, God damn it, what is it called?
A Favorite House Atlantic.
A Favor House Atlantic. Sorry for my brain fart, but yeah. And I was like receptive to it, and then like, yeah, this is pretty fun video. I like this video, and I told Aaron about it. Man,
I was
those guys
receptive to
suck. Some bullshit. Like, what's with that guy's voice? And then and then that kind of was funny because that it's like impressionable. I remember not really getting super into him because none of my other friends were super into him. And then I met Rex's brother, and all he likes is fucking rap, but he likes fucking Coheed and Cambria.
So
And
weird.
that
Another
was
weird
Good
one.
Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, and that got me back into him. And like, I've been a diehard ever since. Like, I even think that maybe their first album is got some of my favorite songs when I went back and listened to that. But I love all their shit. I would only say that there's like 2 albums that I'm not like constantly listening to songs off of them, and that would be Year of the Black Rainbow and The Color Before the Sun. They both have good songs, but those are both albums that I think are kind of on the lower end of quality for them. But everything else they've ever done really like is every song on the album is I like. So I think that's pretty good.
Hell yeah. I got a lot of good memories with Coheed myself, just because, they're one of those, those bands that everyone's got a story about where they first heard Coheed, and Brandon just shared a little bit of ours because we grew up together, so we just discovered some of these bands around the same time, and sometimes that hate would turn into love. We'd be like, fuck this band, but then we'd like the band later, and like I could name countless bands that I've done that with in my life, or artists in general, but Coheed's always been a great one, and I've seen them live more than any other band that that I love. They're probably neck to neck with Between the Buried and Me, but I think I've probably seen them a few extra times. But their early stuff, you guys were talking about the graphic novels and whatnot, and the story. I used to be super into it. Like I could tell you everything about the first 4 parts of that story, but now I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing. I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Dude. It's a lot.
Crazy.
But I do love how the early albums would tell a pretty cohesive story, but they would also throw in other characters to make their universe and their world seem really rich. And these guys write such good fucking music. Like, they're so good at writing music. You know, they can write the heavy parts, like, you know, songs like The Crowing. That's got some of my favorite little heavy guitar part breakdowns, and then it goes back into their progressive shit. And then Claudio's ability to write pop hooks, that motherfucker, like, he is so goddamn good at that shit, and he just tosses it in there. He laces the songs with all those little memorable parts, and then Travis will do the shredding, and it's just, you got Josh in the background just absolutely making love to those drums, just killing those skins. And I love bands like this, you know, and I love that you can hear a lot of the influences that probably influenced them, like Rush and you know, The Killing Joke, and bands that they'll take sections of and put them in their music. And just, I think it's just awesome. And there's like no other band I can think of that tells this long of a story with their music as the vehicle to do so. And it's just awesome. Like, I think they're a great band, and I'm happy we're talking about them today. I think we'll probably also mention some albums not on the docket, but I guess that will segue fairly nicely into the lyric section of our episodes that we usually do. And that'll give us all a chance to talk about the parts of the story we each may know or may not know, and then, you know, see what we like from there. It's worth noting, like Bont mentioned, you know, The Color Before the Sun and You're the Black Rainbow are probably the stinkers of the bunch. And that sounds like a negative thing to say, but it's just their other work is so good and cohesive that it's weird to see them disconnect from that a little bit. But You're the Black Rainbow is part of their story, where The Color Before the Sun is them kind of stepping back away from the story and just writing some rock songs, some pop rock songs, whatever you want to call it. So let's get into the lyrics.
Songs.
Yeah, exactly. Danny, let's tell us how you feel about their lyrical content and the story overall.
There's definitely good storytelling as far as especially the last three. I felt like I connected a little bit more with it. You're obviously feeling some of the aftermath of this war that they went through or whatever, and you know, there was a kid that they made that, you know, is kind of being passed the torch, so to speak, it seems like. But especially with Access to Window of a Waking Mind, dude, I don't know what it is about that album, but that one's connected with me so much. I bought a cassette tape of it because in my car I have a cassette player still. I know that sounds old as hell, but I bought a cassette of this album, and it sounds so good on the cassette. I'm like, what the hell? It's so weird.
Hell yeah. That's actually tight as hell.
But yeah, there's a lot of, you know, upbeat, jovial songs for sure. But then there's like those slow ones where he's on the fucking guitar and he's so good at, you know, injecting emotion and stuff into a lot of those songs, because some of them kind of get you a little bit. But I think lyrically, it can be challenging to kind of follow the story if you don't really know kind of what's going on. If you kind of read the lyrics and look them over, it's a little overwhelming if you kind of don't know the backstory. So I didn't know too much, but I'm kind of understanding the gist of what these, you know, albums are kind of pulling together. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that he does. It's cool because he does write the songs, at least for the most part, in a way where you can still enjoy it, like without really giving a shit about the story. You know, you can draw your own inspirations.
Right. You were talking about the pop hooks and stuff earlier. It's like that kind of same thing too. Like, he kind of gets you involved in the song, and sometimes you can kind of overlook the lyrics a little bit. But yeah.
About you, Rex?
I have no idea what the fuck is going on. But these songs are sick. You know, I mean, you get ideas from listening to it, and a lot of war, a lot of, you know, these particular characters coming back different, or like, you know, changing and dealing with things they've done. And I don't know. Outside of that, I couldn't tell you anything that who's who or what's what or what these songs are about. Like, particularly, I've read one of their comments.
Songs
like,
lyrical wise?
Yeah, probably Pearl of the Stars. It's on Black Rainbow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just really like that song. I think that song is really sick. The guitar is so sick. It's like a slower song, but it's just I heard that song and I was just blown away. I think that song is so good. I think he's so on. His singing is great in that one. The guitar,
I'll have to give it another listen because, like I said, that's
Might
not
not
one
be
that
your thing, man.
I kind of
Yeah.
skip over that one a lot of the times just because there's so many songs on it that I'm like, I just remember that one and being like, meh, eh.
It's still a good album. It's just it doesn't hit the same way the other ones hit. You know, they try a different approach with the more electronic type,
Mm-hmm.
setting, and then it just kind of takes you out of it. Even if you're not following the story musically, they follow a cohesive sound, and that album is kind of outside the box for them, so it's understandable.
It's a little outside the box. Like it feels like it was a little more cut down than their normal stuff, especially I don't know.
I don't know if I was just reading Brandon's mind right there, but I swear to God, he's about to say, "Did somebody say cut?" That's what it looked like to me, dude.
I wasn't gonna.
So somebody shortened it or something like that, cut it down. But I like it. I think it still stands on its own. But anyways, I have no idea what's going on really.
Story wise, yeah.
Story wise, like, and if
The
you do keep
concept.
up with that, I think that's sick. Like, I think it's super cool that they write based off their comics and like characters, and like each album is essentially a concept album, every album, because they're telling another story
Yeah.
that has an end, a beginning, a middle, and an end, whatever. So yeah, that's tight. But yeah, as far as going on in their lyrics are great. Like he's a great
Good poppy
writer.
hooks.
Yes, I mean those are good, but just in general, like he's great at writing. His voice is just so perfect. With, I don't know the guitar player's name, but you've said it a couple times. That guy is amazing with how they write to, I don't know what you call it, harmony with each other. It's just, they're so good. But yeah,
Hell yeah.
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of songs that I really like lyrically. I mean, I could just run them down, but I'll just some of the ones I tend to like are definitely like maybe more. I mean, Delirium Trigger is maybe my favorite song ever, and that song just reminds me of the movie Alien. Like he even talks about an alien bursting out of someone's chest in that song, and it's fucking sweet. And I love the vibe of that song. And then I love Back End of Forever. Has one of my favorite lyrics where he just kind of like sounds like such a whiner. I have no luck with girls, but I love that shit.
Hell yeah.
And the guitar during that is fucking sick. That song is badass. And I love how that song kind of trails off too. It's fucking sweet. 10 Speed is about a fucking bicycle that talks to him. It's like on fire, Ghost Rider style. It's freaking sweet. Like, how could you not love that? So, there's some good shit there. The newer ones I'm not as familiar with. I listen to them, quite a bit, like especially the first two parts. But some of their songs that are really good that I like are shit, I don't even know. Anyway. Dark Sentencer. That song is sweet because that's literally just about a prison. The Dark Sentencer is a prison. I learned that from, the music video. And I have the vinyl, and it kind of shows like a little bit of the story, and you can read more on it. And so I always thought that was a cool name for like a sci-fi prison. Dark Sentencer. And Old Flames is one of the poppiest songs they've ever written, and I fucking love that song. And it's like super like schmaltzy and romantic and some bull ass shit like that, but I love it.
It makes me think of like a couple going up in space in like a rocket, like escaping from like the cruel world. We're gonna go start anew somewhere. Like, yeah, that's exactly what that song feels like.
And I love Murder One off the album after that. That's one of my favorite to like do misheard lyrics to, because it makes Danny pissed off because he's like, "How do you not know these lyrics?" I'm like, I don't know, dude.
That's like one of my favorite songs. Damn it.
The Liars Club on that album too is sweet. Another like just super poppy jam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could just go all day and talk about, there's a couple of songs on albums that we technically didn't listen to for the thing, but like Feathers off of No World for Tomorrow is such a great song. And I don't know what the context of that is in the story, but like just on its own, it's like a song about a mother, or like an overprotective mother and shit or something. I don't know. That's what I get, but I could probably be totally fucking wrong. But it's a good song. Gravity's Union on the Afterman is one of my all-time favorites of theirs. It's got a great Claudio, just yeah, it's fucking sick. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, he's a genius in my eyes, honestly. Like I hold him pretty high in the progressive rock realm anyway, and he blows my mind in a lot of ways because like I love Devil in Jersey City, and a little trivia thing in the beginning of that song, he giggles and says Shaboody. Shaboody was the name of the band before they were Coheed and Cambria, so that's just a little callback to that. And there's a cool EP out there, maybe like an 8 or 10 song thing you can find that kind of shows a different type of them. They're a little darker and heavier, but some of those songs went on to be on later albums. I love that. I love On and Keeping Secrets, Favorite House Atlantic. Yeah, like Brandon said, he mentioned we all saw that thing, hated that shit in the beginning, but then went back and loved it, and that led me to that album. And I think that album is my favorite lyrically.
And that song has a great lyric too. Good eye sniper, you shoot, I'll run.
Exactly.
I fucking love that line.
It's fucking badass, yeah. And they do that. They just pepper that shit in all through their career. And one song I love is on The Color Before the Sun. It's called Eraser. He says something to the effect of like, lean on me, man. No, I'm not mad. It's the way he says it, dude. It's written in such a fucking like badass way. I love that song. And like it's one of my favorite songs by them, but it's on my least favorite album of theirs, which is funny.
Is it about the Arnold movie?
I hope not. It might be.
That movie's sweet, yeah.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really. Well, I guess that's their non-story album, so yeah, that's fucking.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Lyrically, I find them very interesting. Like I said, if you're not really following the story, you can still draw things from your own life that make sense. Like, the stuff Bont was talking about too. The whole like, I have no luck with girls, or the way he says it and shit. We've all gone through those moments in our life, and you just hear that shit, especially in the emo era. Like I said, emo adjacent. That's what Coheed has always been to me personally. But they were actually really important to me growing up on the guitar too, because I learned a bunch of those songs like Welcome Home and Favorite House Atlantic and The Crowing and shit. And they're just fun to play because they'll do a bunch of different shit. They're not your standard formula rock. They're not your stadium rock. They're switching it up all the time. They got the slow acoustics and sometimes they're heavy, like you said, Danny, but most of the time they're not. But they'll give it, when they give it to you, they give it to you good. And that's why I love that. So yeah, let's get into their music. Having said that, and seeing them live adds a huge part of that. Like they're like a thunderous band when you see them live. You're encapsulated in everything they're doing. So how do you feel about that, Danny, musically? I know you talked about Eppard, so
yeah. Oh, I mean, so the first time I ever saw them was with Brandon, and he actually came up here, and we went and saw them in Portland, and oddly enough, Mastodon opened up for him. And so after our brains were just absolutely melted from that performance, like I don't even think we were ready for what they gave us. But yeah, live it's very just booming. It's just right there in your face. And it's clean. It doesn't sound bad. I know at one point we thought Claudio had cut his infamous hair, his long hair, because I think he had it up in like a ponytail and he had like a hat on.
Yeah.
No, that was around the time where he pulled that prank on social media where he I guess it was his brother. It wasn't even him or something that took a picture and was like, "Hey guys, I cut the hair finally." And that was like, and then me and you were going to see him and we're like, "Fuck, dude, he cut his hair. It's gonna be so crazy." He came on stage with a hat and he had that shit all tucked up in there.
Yeah. And then at one point he just whipped it off and we lost it, dude. We were like, "Yes."
I can't believe that happened right around the time we saw that. That's so sweet.
Yeah. But their stage presence is just so like demanding. Like you really don't look away. You're looking at somebody constantly. And I know for me and probably Brandon as well, when we saw him, I was eyes all over Josh, dude, because I felt like at certain points, like he kept pointing the drumstick like over at us, like, "Are you guys in this? Are you ready?" Like, and we were having a blast. But yeah, live is a whole nother experience. I mean, listening to these albums is great and all, but there's just something about seeing a band of this magnitude and of this caliber live that kind of just throws all that out the window. You're like, "Oh man, I can't wait till they come back," and I literally cannot wait.
They're one of those bands that really delivers live. Like
Mhm.
you never walk away from one of those shows being like, man, these guys don't practice, they don't rehearse. No,
Right.
they sound sharp, you know,
Yeah.
like they're on point. And that's one thing I really appreciate because I've gone different states to see those motherfuckers, you know, just to see them again. And they never disappoint. So kudos for that for sure. I think that's rare to be that consistent for that minute, you know, for that long.
For sure.
Never seen them live.
Well, but how do you feel about them musically? Like, you
Just
know, like
haven't. No, I think they're great. Like I said before, kind of repeating myself a little bit, but no, I think they're absolutely great. I think they're just. I don't know. I just got to say it, kind of repeating myself, but I really like them a lot. I think they're killer on guitar. They're real technical and real. They kind of remind me the relationship between Claudio and their guitarist kind of reminds me of Bayside with Anthony and what's his name, because they just know how to write to each other, like their strengths and stuff. So like one will just come with like a rhythm and stuff like that, and the other guy will just start writing the whole guitar riff based on that rhythm he kind of hummed to him,
Mhm.
and then they write the lyrics on that. And I'm sure it's something like that because when I listen to these songs, everything is just so perfectly in sync. And I know most music is, but I mean, like it's in a different level with these guys.
Yeah.
And like how Brandon says, a lot of times, like you feel the story through the guitaring, and that's how this is with these guys. And Claudio's voice is just the cherry on top as he's belting it out with his different abilities of highs and lows, because he can sing normal too.
Mhm.
Like some of his songs, he sings in a lower tone, and it's just as good. So yeah, these guys are great. I do want to I see them live. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, every time I've seen them live, it's definitely been a fantastic experience. Uh, the show in Portland probably was one of the best, though. That was just a great, because like every time I die opened, Mastodon, and then Coheed. It's like three of my most favorite bands ever. It couldn't have been a more perfect show, and each band fucking killed it. I
Mhm.
think Every Time I Die was so stoked to be playing with bands like that, and in such a big venue with them, because I mean, again, Danny and I have seen those guys in the smallest of rooms,
Oh
so
yeah.
that was huge for them, and it's just I love their sound. I love their music, and like I said, even on the albums that I think are kind of on the lower end for them, I still find a lot of songs to like from them. So, yeah, they're a good band. You guys, everyone who's listening who hasn't listened to them, should listen to them. Please.
please,
Please,
please
please,
do that.
please,
No, I
please.
actually I agree. I agree with Brandon. I mean, there if you're into rock music, but you don't like the same stale old bullshit, and you want to challenge yourself as the listener. I think Coheed is a band like that. It's probably how Pink Floyd affected people, in the drought of all that other shit in the early or the late
Right.
'70s and shit, or the early '70s. And bands like that need to exist. And I'm glad Coheed is one of those bands. They're going to be a band I think that people remember, even though
Oh, 100%.
they're
Especially,
not as
people
big.
our
But
age and how crucial it was to like going through high school. Like, the first album came out in 2002. I was oh, shit, I think I was a freshman, honestly. So like I
I was
I
11.
remember, yeah, I remember starting off listening to that album and absolutely loving it. But I was kind of getting into that phase of, that emo, screamo, metal, I was getting into that heavier music. So this was a nice, like refreshing take away from it. Although that first album does have some heavy stuff on there, and like I said, I just love that sound. It sounds like they literally recorded that in a garage, and I love like I don't know. It's one of my favorite sounding albums of theirs for sure.
absolutely, and then they raise the bar with the keeping secrets. So it's like they challenge themselves as songwriters. At least they did early on. We'll get to
Hmm.
that later. But I'm not as big of a fan of this newer stuff. I mean, musically, some of it's still really great, but not quite as memorable. And but we'll get
Those
into
first
that
three are
later.
hard to top. They
They
really are.
really are. Yeah, it's funny though because my favorite albums by them are the Afterman albums. I love both of those
Oh,
albums a
those are good
lot.
ones.
They're fucking cool. One thing I wanted to say, Rex, before we move on is if you're feeling like you want to get nerdy with a band and their lyrics, you should do it with this band, because I know you love space and sci-fi, and this shit is just like a space opera,
It really
and there's
is.
so much to it, and it's fucking cool, and it's just like hearing you talk about how much you love space. I think this one will really get you. It's like Star Wars kind of in a way, but it's its own thing.
Yeah, Star Wars.
It's kind of like one of those overwhelming tasks almost by now.
Absolutely.
I'm
That's
like,
why I
yeah,
said
no.
get nerdy with
I was
it.
like,
you know?
that's a sweet idea, and then I'm like, all right, how many comics are they deep? How
That's
many years
asking a
been
lot,
doing this?
son.
Let's see.
I think one of the coolest
It's like
ways to
22
do it.
Wait
years.
till I ask.
22 years of music to catch up on in comics.
I mean, there's not that many comics. I think the best way to do it would just be like listen to the music and read
Yeah,
the
go to
lyrics and shit,
Wikipedia. It gives you a
yeah.
breakdown of the
And
freaking like story and for every album.
That's cheating.
But not if you're listening to the album while you read that and you're like, oh,
I'm
that's
just
this
kidding.
part.
I'm
Oh,
just
that's this
kidding.
part.
I'm just fucking around.
I give you a Stone Cold Stunner.
You hear the glass.
Who are we talking about again?
It's your ass.
Let's get popping with the albums. Let's start talking Second Stage.
Poppin'.
There's a couple things about that album I wanted to say real quick that were interesting for me. Is I had people try to get me into this band way before we heard that Favor House Atlantic, and I'd just forgotten about them too. Like this came out, and I was working with a buddy of mine named Brian at Albertsons at the time, and he's like, "Oh, you should check out Coheed and Cambria." And I just kept being like, "Shut the fuck up, dude! I don't give a shit." And then I forgot about them. And then when A Favor House Atlantic came out, that's when they kind of were like put back on my radar. But I remember hearing this album at the time when he was suggesting it, and man, I hated it. It's such a funny story. Like I remember the feelings I had when I first heard it, just being like, this guy's voice sucks, this band sucks, what the fuck. And then a year later I went to the second stage of hate, which is hilarious based on the name here, and then I finally came around to him. So I'm definitely curious to see what you guys think about this album. Obviously it's a classic amongst Coheed fans for a lot of good reasons. Notably, one of the reasons Brandon mentioned just being like kind of grainy and, or was that Danny? One of you guys mentioned
that was
it was
me,
kind of like
yeah.
garage bandy. Yeah.
That was
Mhm.
Denny.
So, well, kick us away then, Danny.
Yeah, I like the way this recording sounds. It's just, yeah, like I said, it reminds me of, I remember after school I used to always go over to a buddy's house and we would all jam, and like just like those moments you had with your buddies, just like jamming in a hot sweaty garage or whatever. But it's got, like Brandon was saying earlier, some of the best songs that I personally like. Time Consumer is a huge one for me. Devil in Jersey City, Delirium Trigger, obviously. I do like Never Ender also. But yeah, this first one is one of those ones where this is when I kind of first started listening to them, and then I think, like you were saying earlier, Practical, I backed away when Favorite House Atlanta came out, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is this? Like, and obviously that was before kind of listening to that album all the way through, but I kind of skipped that. I went past these guys for a long time, obviously until I met Brandon, and then kind of went back and started re-listening to it. But yeah, I've always had a soft spot for this one. It's definitely a good introduction to the band, because I feel like from this album to obviously the newest one, their sound has definitely evolved, but like not too much. Like they still sound like them. They kind of have that trademark sound, not just from Claudio's vocals, but guitar wise and drum wise. Yeah, it's just a solid one all around. And Claudio wrote this whole album, obviously, with a story in mind and kind of taking off of his little comic book thing. So yeah, I love this album though. It's good.
Yeah.
I heard this album later on. This wasn't one of the first, second, or third albums I'd heard. Just because, like I said, first album came out, I think it was 11. So I was in my I'm gonna be Eminem phase.
Yeah,
All I listened
sometimes
to
it's
was
hard to go
Eminem.
back to the first one too, because there's already so much ahead of that one,
And it just also, it took me a while, because at the time I was just looking at anything with screaming in it for a long time.
Yeah, it's
I
got
was like,
some
just give me
weird dragonfly
more
on
of
the
that.
cover.
And yeah, and so when I did finally get around to listening to this album was pretty sweet. I get what Danny says about it having more of a garage bandy sound, but I think I feel like they did that purposefully because it just sounds so perfect for the album. There's just a certain sound to it, along with Claudio's voice being as high as it was even back then. Like you kind of feel like you go back into these older albums, someone who sings like that. Like you listen to Craig Owens back earlier, and he doesn't sound that good. He still has a higher pitched voice, but he doesn't sound that good. But you go back to here, and it sounds like this dude's been singing like this for 30 years.
Right.
So, it's real sweet. Time Consumer is a sweet song. I really like Everything Evil, Delirium Trigger. Those are probably the three favorites I have on it, but this album's pretty solid. Not my favorite, though. I know this is probably a lot of people's favorite, but no, this one's not my favorite.
Not
it's a good
my
album,
favorite either, but it just holds a special place.
No, it's good, but not my favorite.
None of you guys said 33 yet.
I know, it's amazing. It is amazing to me.
Like those are my four tracks on this. That little chunk. Everything Evil, Delirium, Trigger, Hear Shot, Kid Disaster, and 33 gets me. And actually 5, because June Song Provision is a freaking loader too.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I'm going to go ahead and say it's like a 6-song run for me, because Devil in Jersey City, like that whole run to June Song Provision is just this is badass.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is when I had to go back to and listen to, because in Keeping Secrets was the one that I listened to. I didn't even listen to it. I just heard Favor House Atlantic and didn't really give it much a second thought because all my friends hated it. So, and then obviously, like I said, Rex's brother got me into the third one, and then I went back and listened to both of those two. So, and just been getting hard to it ever since.
I love that.
I wish it said that on the cover. Like that's just a hype sticker to get you to buy the album.
This shit'll get you rock.
I think it's a great album. It's definitely not my favorite either, because I think they just got better and better. But I like the block we talked about: Devil in Jersey City, Everything Evil, Delirium Trigger, Here Shot Kid Disaster, 33, June Song Provision. Those are all just solid Coheed songs. I mean, you cannot go wrong. It would be one of those things that if this was an EP and that was the run, it'd be like one of the greatest fucking EPs of all time,
Well, and it's like so definitively there. They've nailed their sound from the jump, from album 1.
Absolutely. And that was one thing I was going to say too. Like, obviously, everyone just do whatever you want to do, but I always recommend, if you discover a new band, to always give the first album a try. You got to see the thirst a band has on their debut album is never replicated, And that goes for this album too. I mean, and that's kind of why it's a little bit heavier and a little edgier, because they got something to prove, and they're coming in hot, basically, as people would say. And I think that's good. I think you should always do that with a debut album. And I think this one, even if you're a new listener now, you should kick it off with this one so you can see how they've grown, but also, like you guys said, retain the sound, which, you mentioned it, Danny, where it's like, it's Coheed even without it being Claudio, because the way they play their guitars, the way everything is tuned,
like that
they have a certain,
that jibey guitar, sound. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just, it's them, I guess.
Loads you up.
It's just, and well, the thing too is like Claudio also plays solos, so like those two guys play off each other so fucking well, and it's like it's the Metallica dynamic where Kirk and James will both do solos. They read each other well, and it's the same thing here in Coheed. And when you play with your guitar effects enough, and you figure out your sound, it'll be identifiable from a distance. And Coheed is one of those bands, and I fucking love them for that too, because when a new song comes out, you wouldn't even have to be like looking at the TV if it was a video or some shit. You're like, oh, that's definitely Coheed. And I think the stage is set with this album, and I love it. I think it's a great debut album, and I highly recommend it. It would still be close to a 9 or a 10, even if I had to rate it, just because of that run itself. So, so moving on to In Keeping Secrets, we've mentioned it a bunch of times. The full title of the album is In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. Came out in 2003, only 1 year after the debut. one thing I wanted to mention real quick is they were on Equal Vision Records, which was a really big emo label at the time. We had like Alexis on Fire and Boy Sets Fire and all of these bands with fire in their name, but a bunch of other emo bands too. Yellow Card is currently on that label. They're still around. They're still pumping out stuff. And that's another reason they were always grouped in with the emo shit, because they were on like those samplers. You'd get the Equal Vision samplers, and all these emo bands would be on there, and then so would Coheed. And I don't think
And
they can really be
Alternative Press.
denied. Yeah, alternative. Yeah, exactly. That was another big one. Yeah. So they carved their sound out, and then they released the second album here, and I think it blew everybody away. Favorite House Atlantic was a huge fucking single for this album.
Yeah.
That video was played constantly on rotation on MTV once it came out.
Yeah.
Like I said, we talked about, we hated it when all of us first hated it. Even Brandon's trying to play it down, but he fucking hated that shit too a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We were all
you
like,
guys hated it, and I was like, well, all my friends hate it, so I guess I will too.
If they hate it, then I
Fucking
guess I hate it too.
Fuck that.
peer
Screw this
pressure.
album.
No way,
We
Blood
got
Red
songs
Summer
on it.
rules.
Yeah, Blood Red Summer is another huge song for that album. But yeah, dude, talk about, I think Danny, it's you that usually talks about it, but the album opener, like in terms of the music itself, this one, the self-titled track just fucking absolutely rules after that intro.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
take us
About
away, sir.
jackhammers. What's going on there?
Right? Get you.
Hell yeah. Take it away, buddy boy.
Well, I'm so
Danny
sorry.
boy.
So yeah, I did a little research here at the moment because Brandon loves that. So the album concept for this is supposed to take place 10 years after the first album. And it talks about how Claudio, which is like one of the characters in the story, emerges from the depths of this like war or whatever, and he finds out his whole family's been murdered. So now he's like out for vendetta. So I think that's kind of cool that, they're trying to get a story going. Obviously with their first album, they had a concept, and now they're trying to continue it. So I like that they did that.
Oh yeah,
What's that? I'm sorry.
Is In Keeping Secrets the song where they talk about cutting the throats of babies and stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it's
though.
like that's part of the lyrics to that song. Yeah, he would do anything for you, cut the throats of babies.
He's trying to get his revenge.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Some rough shit.
It's revenge.
I do definitely still like this album. I mean, The Crowing, Blood Red Summer, Favorite House. After a while, you get used to it and you love it. Those ones stand out to me. The Three Camper songs are pretty good too. This is like my least favorite of the 6 that we listened to. Not saying that it's a bad one, because I still think this is such a pivotal album for them. But for my taste, it was an okay one. I didn't dislike it by any means, but it's just not one that stands out to me from the ones that we listened to. But overall, still really a good one. And yeah, it's a freaking over an hour long. Like, it's crazy that some of these, storytelling albums can go this long. So, yeah.
Kind of shocked to hear that.
Shock this.
But it's okay. But it's all right.
It shocks.
This song, or this album and this song are okay. I'm not a big fan of this album either. It's crazy. It came out in 2003.
Shit.
Like, that's crazy. Again, I came to these 2 albums way later, but this album's okay. It's got a few good ones. The only ones I can really mention are, Favorite House Atlantic and Blood Red Summer. Also, nope, that's about it. That's all I can really point out.
Nope.
This album didn't really impress me as much. I came way later, and it's probably exactly why this one didn't impress me as much, and why I like certain ones you guys don't. But yeah, this album was cool. It's just not my favorite.
I respect that in a way.
Danny
No,
likes
for sure,
it
me
more.
too.
Yeah, I respect that in a way, because every Coheed fan's gonna fucking name this album the first time they fucking bring them up. So I respect it from both of you.
Yeah,
I don't agree with you, but I respect it.
This one and From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness, Good Apollo 4, whatever the fuck that long ass title. The next one we'll talk about. Those are like the 2 albums I probably listen to the most. Really this one, like, got me by the balls for a really long time because, like I said before, I love Back End of Forever, Three Evils, The Crowing, Blood Reds. I love it all. It's all good. It's all
Top to
all the
bottom.
way through is a 10 out of 10. I love it.
We got a tenner.
Gets me loaded, gets me hard, gets me cut, get all of the things. It gets me.
You get it.
I'm gonna have to wholeheartedly agree with this man on this one. Like, I think this album is fucking great. I used the word genius with Claudio earlier. I think this is the first shine of genius for him. I think this album is a fucking classic. I love every track on it.
A bonus track?
The bonus track being 2113 as a reference to 2112 with Rush is also genius.
You Rush.
The whole album is just great. It tells a lot of different stories. You know, he's even got his own version of Han Solo in the mix here if you listen to some of these songs, which is totally sick. The Crowing is just one of my favorite songs in general because the whole song is not only the riffer, but Claudio is talking about a version of his own self in this song, which is and he's powering up and shit. And when the song gets to the breakdown, that's him at maximum power, and it's like that's how he's described it. And I think it's so badass to know that because when I listen to the song, I feel that the whole time. And like I said, such a killer album opener within Keeping Secrets. Three Evils. I love that song, The Crowing, Blood Red Summer. Also love the music video. I think it's fucking badass. And those camper tracks, especially Al the Killer. He got me with this one, and I agree with Brandon. All the words, all the cutting words, all the words you need to throw at it. I think this album is that. It's great. I always recommend it to people. I've never heard anybody say it was only okay, so like that's why I respect that. Like I said, you guys threw me for a loop there, but that's what I expect you to do. So. Hell yeah, but let's keep moving on because they've got a lot to cover, and I know we're gonna go off on a little bit of tangents here on some of the other ones, so it's good that we leave that one to the listener if they haven't already heard it. So moving on to Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness is the entire
that was a mouthful.
Of that motherfucker. It really is.
What's the name for that thing? Holy moly.
Fuck, I don't think it has one. It came out in 2005, so because they were touring vigorously for that in Keeping Secrets, like just straight almost 2 years of touring, because they blew up, like I said. And then they pop on the scene with Welcome Home, and I'm sure that song's going to come up multiple times here.
What song?
Yeah, I believe it's featured on Guitar Hero, and for good reason.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot of fun to play. I sucked at that game, but it was still fun to play.
I miss it.
Yeah, that's still to me like their Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven or their big song. That would be the one that kind of stands out to me. And like I said, the 3 times I've seen them, they've always closed with that song. So, but other than that, I mean, pretty much a lot of these tracks are really, really good. Ones that obviously stand out, always The Suffering. Wake Up is a good one, and then I like The Willing Will, the 4 tracks that follow pretty much the ending of the album. It gets heavy in certain points on this album for sure. Yeah, obviously I like The Suffering. That's like the one that always stands out to me later on. But yeah, The Willing Will, the 4 tracks that pretty much end the album are fucking awesome too. I just like how this one was a little bit more heavier than the previous 2. They kind of went all into it with a lot of the guitar work being pretty shredderlicious. So, but I like this one a little bit more
metal
than the other one. Yeah, it really was. I just definitely like this one more than the previous one. Not like I said, not to take away from it. I know you two were all about it. Okay, sorry I said it was okay. But yeah, I like
seize
this
up
one.
over there over that.
I like this one a little bit better than that one.
I get it.
I agree. I think this one is better than the first 2. This is where I kind of came in. I was like right about to go into high school, so I was reaching everything, and this one is kind of the one that grabbed me in, and Keeping the Blade, the way it starts is just amazing. Crossing the Frames, Wake Up. His voice is so crazy in Wake Up. It's like Craig Owens was around obviously, but I'd never heard a guy sing like kind of that high before in that song. It's also kind of a sad song. The Suffering's a good one, and then hold on, what's that one? It's the lie,
Are
the
you
dirty
well
secret.
in the
Oh,
suffering?
the lying lies and dirty secrets.
Oh yeah.
That bitch
But yeah,
Erica Court.
this was my real intro to the album, and I've actually listened to Black Rainbow before I even listened to the first two.
Oh wow.
Before I listened to those other two, so I got a few in before I ever even picked it up. My brother had talked about them before for a while, and usually when he mentions a rock band, I take it a little more serious. But it's like the same with Iron Maiden. He's told me for years to listen to them, and I have no reason why I haven't gotten into them, but I just haven't. I have nothing against them from what I've heard. But it's just, like you kind of, people tell you music all the time. You're like, yeah, I'll listen to them. And like, it goes into that like backlog of things I need to listen to, but you never do. I don't know about you guys, but it does.
If you decide to get into Iron Maiden, our resident Iron Maiden expert is
That's
Bont.
I know. My brother got into Iron Maiden when they lived together with Pat and Sam, or I think her name was.
The dream is true.
Like, my brother's just listening to it all the time, and I'm like, I was like, what are you listening to? I was like, this isn't 50 Cent or anything like that. This isn't Greaves or something like Atmosphere. And he's like, oh no, this is Iron Maiden. This is sick. And then like in Brandon's room, I don't remember. I thought you had some big Iron Maiden thing. And
I'm pretty sure I had an Eddie poster for sure.
It was something like that. And he's like, yeah, these guys are sick. Me and Brandon be listening to them and getting high and shit. And I was like, oh, all right.
3 guitar players.
Yeah, so. But
this
was one of the bands. But no, this album I think is so sick. Yeah, better than number 2. I didn't realize actually that the last album, In Keeping Secrets, was like the love child of everybody. I actually thought it was this album.
It's both, because Welcome Home is on this album.
Oh, this is like a little cherry on top.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's both albums. Those are like the two. When someone brings this band up, they're going to bring up Favor House Atlantic and Welcome Home. On, those are going to be the ones.
This album literally has a song called The Final Cut. And also some other great songs for me. Like I love The Willing Well 2, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. I love that little like run rabbit run, and then it fucking gallops, bro. I'm a sucker for the fucking gallop, dude.
Suffering. So does he use that double guitar live? Like when
hell yeah,
live?
He does for Welcome Home.
Okay, yes, I wasn't sure if that was just for that video. That's tight. That's so sick.
No, okay. And then no one's mentioned the piano in the Suffering. That shit, fucking, I love that. That little detail. It's so sick. Though I kind of get pissed off because this album does have a double intro. Keeping the Blade is pretty cool, and then it goes into some other bullshit ass little song about a baby crying and stuff, and then Welcome Home. I'm like, no. Let's just get to Welcome Home. Like, you gonna double intro me?
They got to get you pumped,
setting
and
it
ready.
Up, yeah, dude. I mean, build up.
It is pretty sick. And then this also does have Home, dude. 10 Speed about the flaming bicycle. That's a cool one. The Writing Rider. That's another. Man, that one's good too. That one goes like hand in hand with From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness, which I really like. That those songs are like kind of connected in a way. So. And The Telling Truth. That's literally Apollo 2.
I love The Writing Rider. That was one of the songs I was going to bring up. I love when Claudio does this in general, well, the band, but when Claudio will write those different sections of the songs and they'll connect throughout the album, sometimes in a chunk and other times spread out. I just fucking always love when he does that. It's awesome. But this is this album is fucking great. You guys have pretty much already mentioned all the best songs. But one thing worth noting is one of the reasons this album sounds so much bigger than the previous two is they finally run a major label. They're on Columbia Records at this point. So they got the real professional producers and the bigger sounds. That, So, yeah, and it's like, you can hear it. As soon as Welcome Home starts, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, you're about to get slapped with glory. So that
shit fucks you up live.
It does, dude. And that song is so goddamn fun to play on the guitar as well. Like I mentioned before, man, it just has all of the things that are cool when you're first starting out, and then when you get better. I had to learn that song in sections when it first came out. Like I was able to do the intro and shit, but I couldn't play those solos or any of those other parts till I was almost 40 years old. So it's funny to think about like how talented they are as musicians, and you can hear it through the whole album. And Bont bringing up the piano and the Suffering is a perfect example, and they'll start to use piano more frequently as time goes on now, which is a really great aspect of their music. For me, aside from what we've already talked about, I really love the Willing Well 1 through 5. I think those are my absolute favorite tracks on the album, but it's really hard to pick because this is another 10 out of 10. If we were to do the ratings, I'd have a really hard time picking between this one and then Keeping Secrets. Still not either of them. Neither of them are really my favorite albums per se, because I love the Afterman is about an astronaut in particular, and I'm just a sucker for astronauts like trapped in some weird situation, and that's exactly what those are. So the story gets me there, but this album is great. And again, it's the second time somebody's written a song called Welcome Home that's just been absolute fucking banger material, and the other one is Metallica's Welcome Home Sanitarium.
Country road.
Yeah.
Oh,
Song's so sick. No,
Back when they were
not
tight
that
still.
one, Rex. God damn it.
sorry, wrong one.
I heard that, Brandon. Don't think I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
right. So let's move on to Vaxis Act 1. I got to be honest, Unheavenly Creatures was the last album that I really listened to more than like 5 times. So I was really familiar with this one. I've kind of fallen off. Not because of them, but again, my music taste is always shifting. I'm always hyper focused on a different band from month to month. And it's been a long time since I've listened to anything modern by them. So I was happy you put these on here, Danny, because I needed to visit them. It's not fair to Coheed to leave them behind. So I'm happy you put them on here, and take us away with Act 1, The Unheavenly Creatures, 2015.
Yeah, and like I said before, I didn't want to skip the other ones out of not respecting them. I still think those are good albums
Dare
too,
you?
but I wanted to have a taste of some of the earlier stuff, which obviously those first 3 are pretty popular, to the most recent 3. I thought that was a fair assessment of kind of where the band's at. And obviously, if anyone listening listens to any of these albums and likes them enough, you can go and listen to those other ones. But this one, I really like this album a lot because this was right before Brandon and I saw them, and this was going to be my first time seeing them. So I definitely listened to this album on repeat for quite a bit. I really like this one, though. There's really not a song on here that I don't like, to be honest with you. And I could name quite a few, obviously, of the good tracks, but ones that stand out to me, obviously, Dark Sentencer, Unheavenly Creatures. Toys is a sleeper for me. I think that's such a fucking just badass song. Probably one of the longest songs on there too. And then True Ugly is a really good, just like upbeat kind of poppy. Claudio just had to get his little 2 cents in song. The Gutter's awesome. Old Flames. Yeah, pretty much every song on here. This would be a 10 out of 10 album for me. I just like the sound of it, and like the whole robot access thing in the beginning, and the prologue is kind of creepy, but like I like the synth, how it kind of builds up to it and kind of goes right into Dark Sentencer. I think that's a sweet transition. So
Yeah, they don't double intro you.
right, man. But yeah, I freaking love this one. If we were rating it, it was a 10er for shout.
The cool thing is there are so many 10s being thrown out for this band, and that's what they
Right.
deserve.
Agreed. These 3 albums, obviously the newest one's still pretty new, but I'm never listened to these other 2 that we have, which is Unheavenly Creatures and Vaxis 2, Window of the Waking Mind. This is the first time I've gotten through to listening to these ones, or gotten to listening to these guys, and they're pretty sweet. I don't really have much to say. I only listened to them 1 time through, but I got to come back through and just listen to all these because I haven't listened to anything since Color Before the Sun, which I guess isn't that much, but that's 1, 2, 3 if you count Claudio covers, I guess. I don't know. Either way, so I got to listen to all of these a few more times because I don't even remember The Color Before the Sun, but this album was cool. My first listen to. I can't say much besides they've done a good job at progressing through the years, staying, I think, sounding pretty good. Sounding not the same, but you know who they are, and they still have a great sound and everything. I don't know. kind of
Hell yeah.
shallow opinion, but just what I heard this first
It's all
listen.
good.
This is the first
You
listen
gotta like,
to.
yeah, you gotta listen to it a lot to like really blend it
Yeah,
in.
so-
But
For sure.
But
yeah.
no, I'm digging so far what I'm hearing. So if the other one is just as good,
I will
I'll
say
dig it all.
now this album has one of my favorite songs lyrically and musically, the way that the song goes together. And it's such an underrated song. No one ever mentions it. It Walks Among Us. Rex, really listen to that song. That song is so fucking sweet. I love the transitions from like verse to chorus. And then I love the lyrics to it. Like, a bad guy motherfucker, don't want to hate or love you. Creature, come and get it. Creature, come and get it. And then just, oh, whoa.
Damn, is this
I don't know.
karaoke?
Nice. Keep
Shit.
going.
Dude, that song fucks me up. That song's awesome. It Walks Among Us. I love it. I love that song. I love Nighttime Walkers. That's another good one. I really like the deep cuts of this album. Fucking Queen of the Dark is a good one to me, and obviously like the hits are great too. Dark Sentencer, I think, is like one of their best intro songs since Welcome Home. Like, I think that song is like musically like not as impactful, but it's like it's getting there. It's like almost up there with Welcome Home in terms of like, man, this is a fucking epic power fucking song right here. And it's just a sick ass song. I love it. But yeah, It Walks Among Us is one of my all-time favorite Coheed songs, and it's on this album. So
Hell yeah. For me, my favorite song on this album is Queen of the Dark. You mentioned it. I was stoked when you just mentioned it. That song's always stood out to me. I throw it on. It's like my intro track for my Coheed playlist, actually. I kind of say Welcome Home for like dead center. So I'll start off with a song like this after using one of their other intros from their albums to lead into it. A nice little segue. I think on Dark Sentencer is also, the longest song on the album, but for good reason. It's just stretched so well, and it's over before you know it, and then you look back, you're like, oh shit, 7.5 minutes, goddamn. But
Yeah.
I just, the album overall though still doesn't hit me like the older albums, and I don't want to be a downer on it or anything like that. It's just, if it had hit me in the way the other ones did, I probably would have been anticipating these other parts that were coming out. And I just, for me, it's not even choosing their older shit. Like I said, my favorite stuff of theirs is kind of like middle of their career. So I'm kind of just feeling stagnant with them at this point, and I felt that way this time as well when I listened to it again. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's still a Coheed album, so a bad Coheed album is still like a 7, you know. But if I could put it into perspective like that, I kind of just, this one doesn't hook to me as much. I feel like it's a little lengthy as well. 80 minutes is just a real long time for any album, even if you are a band like Coheed. I think, you're really pushing it. It's like Saint Anger length or worse. Nobody wants to hear an album for that long, especially Saint Anger. But, this one could have been trimmed down to me by 5 tracks or maybe 4. But overall, I still enjoy it. And I will say, though, I like the one after it a little bit more, which I'm surprised with. I'm happy for that, though, because I was afraid that maybe this would be the last time I really liked a Coheed, or I disliked a Coheed album and it might continue, but it didn't. So as we move on to Vaxis Act 2, A Window of the Waking Mind came out in 2018. How do you feel about this one, Danny?
2018 or 2022?
Sorry, 2022. My bad.
Oh yeah, last one was
2018 was the last one. Yeah.
This is my favorite one, believe it or not.
Really?
100%. I love every single track on this, but I just love that a lot of these songs were kind of influenced, and Claudio has mentioned that a lot of these songs were influenced by like COVID-19 and like, while the quarantines and lockdowns, he attributes to Comatose, A Disappearing Act, Love Murder One, Liars Club. So I thought that was kind of interesting that, while we were all kind of sitting around doing nothing because we couldn't, he was making the best of it and, writing music. But yeah, realistically, there's not a bad track on here that I don't like. You get some of the poppy stuff out of the way in the beginning with like Comatose and Shoulders. Very, very much their poppiest songs on here, I would say. But yeah, Liars Club, that one to me is probably my favorite song on here. I just love the way that it kind of chugs along. I feel like they get the poppy stuff out of the way in the beginning with like Comatose and Shoulders, but I really like Love Murder 1. That's probably my favorite song on the entire album. Just the chugginess of the song and the way that Josh kind of comes in, and I think he was on Drumeo or something like that on YouTube, and he did a version of that song, and just like his facial expressions and the way he's so passionate about it and how clean it sounds, like I don't know, it's just that's just the one song that I find myself always putting on like a playlist or anything like that. So, but yeah,
believe me alone.
no, dude, that's not the lyrics. He
That's what I
ruins
thought
it
I heard.
because he thinks that's not what you heard. Okay, damn it.
Hey, man, it's all about what you interpret.
I don't know what
Anyways.
believe me alone means.
God, I'll kill you. But yeah, this is still my favorite Coheed album. I listen to this one frequently for sure.
Hell yeah. I'm shocked by that. I do like this album cover. I will say.
It's sweet.
I like the album too, but I'm just saying, like, the album cover, it sticks out to me. Like, I have
This
it on
album's
vinyl,
cool.
and it's always sticking out, so I can see the little kid's face. It's like, it creeps me out in the middle of the night. No, I'm not even joking. Like, the way my cabinet is now, that album is the last one on the thing. So I'll come down sometimes. I'm like, oh shit, that little kid. Fuck that kid. But yeah, I do like the cover, so it's cool. But what about you, Rex?
This is kind of the same as the last one. This is my first time hearing it. And it was cool. It was all right. I gotta listen to a little bit more. But it was all right. That's all I can
Yeah, I mean,
say.
anything from Coheed is like you gotta listen to it. Like you gotta really like absorb it. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's like listening to Mastodon. That one time through just wasn't enough.
Did you listen to Mastodon since?
No, but I haven't listened to anything. Man, it comes in waves, man.
Hey, man. Hey, as someone, don't even
He's
get me
blasting
started
Phoebe
on listening to
Bridgers
other
on his
people's
way to
music.
work.
Hell yeah.
I don't know who that is, but
Yeah, you do.
yep. you caught me. Me and Phoebe. Good old Phoebes. No, I'll come back to these one day. I get hyper focused on people. I'm hyper focused on nothing right now. But when I do, eventually these guys will make back the rotation.
We'll make you a best of playlist.
The last time was like 10 years ago, but it's time is coming.
Hell yeah. For me, I actually like the previous one more than this one, but I do like this one. I think Liars Club, again, like is one of their poppiest songs, like ever. That thing, every time that one comes on, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to hear that again because it got me in my car. I'm freaking getting my little yeah. But I love the last three songs on this album. Those are fucking sweet and they're epic and fucking powerful. Like I love the big, epic, powerful Coheed songs. Those are always my favorite. And then
Cut
Blood.
the Cord.
I
Did
like
you
Blood as
like
well
that?
on this.
I was about to say, is that the reason you like that one? Because the word cuts in it?
I mean, cut the cord, baby.
We all got to do it.
Hell yeah. I thought this one was pretty good, which shocked me, like I said, because I was kind of on Heavenly Creatures or whatever. So this one, I feel like they kind of stepped it up a little more. I was happy to see the return of like a 5 or 6 part song, which, like I mentioned, I love when he does that. And this album ends really strong with those. But I also just like a lot of the tracks on here, like Ladders of Supremacy. That song is fucking sweet as hell.
Hell yeah.
And the Liars Club was another good one. You mentioned that. Blood is super good. Comatose and Shoulders. Beautiful Losers. I just like the whole thing, honestly. This was like the 5th time I listened to it when you put it on the list. Heard it when it first came out. I remember I listened to it a few times at that point. And I don't remember being as into it then. But when I listened to it this time, it actually kind of stuck with me a little bit more. I listened to it a few more times this morning. More so than any of the other albums, actually, because I just was feeling it. Like, I was getting into the groove of the whole album, and I like it. I'd probably give this one like an 8 or a 9 if I had to rate it too, which is actually way stronger than I thought I'd give a modern Coheed album. So impressed with that. Unfortunately, I don't feel the same about Vaxis Act 3, which we'll get into that now. The father of Make Believe 2022.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, or no, that's 2025.
No, this literally came out like
just came out.
2 months ago.
I think it's because the way
I know
wrote
that
it on my notes.
I know you're from the
like,
future, bro, but you know you gotta.
Yeah. No, literally, everyone at home, we got Doctor Who living with us for show.
I am a time traveling motherfucker. But yeah, let's talk about this one. It is cool that it is their most modern album, or just most recent one to date. It did just come out. I pre-ordered it. It came in, but I just don't like it that much. I don't know. Take us away though, Danny.
I can totally agree and see how you don't like it. I first listened to it, I wasn't really into it. It definitely took a couple of listens, but yeah, this is it's kind of a downer album. There's some tracks about loss on here, and I don't know if somebody had mentioned that being that they tour so much, Claudio being away from like his wife and stuff like that. But there are definitely some bangers in the beginning of this album, but I like the second half of this album more than I like the beginning of it.
I agree with that. Yeah.
A lot of the singles they released before they dropped the album are in the beginning, like Goodbye Sunshine, Blind Side Sunny, sorry. And I think Someone Who Can, even though that's more of the later album. But yeah, I would say like the last 3 tracks are like the best on the entire album. Or last 4, I'm sorry. And I love that it's always, for me, these 4-parter songs where it's like the continuum and it's a 4-part song. So I don't know if they're knowing my ear very well, but I'm digging those little tied in songs together. But yeah, this is definitely an album that you need to listen to multiple times to really kind of like it. So I could see why you might not have liked it just from maybe 1 or 2 listens, but it's actually not that bad. Not my favorite, obviously, but I think I need to listen to it some more and really kind of soak it in a little bit more. But I still like it. I like that they're kind of saying still true to their sound from what it sounds like.
Yeah, like I said, even the least favorable Coheed album is like a 7. So it's not like it's shit or anything. It's just kind of like some of those albums grab you harder, and this one just, I don't know, feels like one I'll forget sooner than I'll remember.
This is definitely a more poppier kind of album for them. Like, I don't know, more stripped down. It feels like more like, I don't know, rockish type album, alternative style. I don't know. It's a little different, but I still thought it was okay. I listened to it 1 or 2 times, and that's kind of what I said in the Discord when I posted about it when I listened to it a month or 2 ago. But no, my favorite is probably Blind Side Sunny, because that is just a sweet song. You don't hear him scream very often, like ever. So like hearing that was kind of a trip. I was like, what, 2025 and Coheed's throwing some screaming in there? That's it. Especially listening to some of the other songs on the album, it was really cool. One Last Miracle, out of the last 4, I do think they're okay, but I think The Flood is the better out of the 4. I think that song is pretty sweet.
That's a good one.
Yeah, this album's pretty good. Especially going into this and it's sounding, a little not more main, yeah, just a tiny bit more mainstream. But Claudio's, like you said, has always had just a knack for writing these hooks, but this one just seems a little more aimed at maybe trying to bring more attention back to him. But either way, like you said, it's a good album.
Yeah, for me, it's just so new. Sometimes it like takes me longer with them to really absorb their stuff, because I do like them a lot and I like to really give them a good listen, and I've literally listened to this album like 3 times, so I don't have like a standout. I mean, Blind Side Sunny and for sure, and The Flood for sure, but I for me, I would say that like this came out on March 15th. Give me some time, folks. But
yeah.
I like what I've heard, and I just it's gonna be on my Coheed playlist where I have all their albums, and I'm definitely gonna have to give it some more listens. I'll come back when I've got like 10 listens under my belt, and I'll be like, I know what I like about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. I think my issue with this album is I feel like it's heading towards Foo Fighter territory, which, as you know, I'm a fan of them, but they're leaning more into that stadium rock deal. And I don't think that's a good direction for them. I think a band like Foo Fighters, where they've already commercially sold their souls for 20 years, is probably the way to go for them. I don't think Coheed needs to do that because I think they're capable of so much more. And that's why this album doesn't really grab me very much. Of the 3 times I listened to it, I like it, like I said, but I don't love it. I don't know how many times I'm going to go back and listen to it personally, but overall, still, like I said, it's enjoyable because it's fucking Coheed. They got a
Yeah,
sound
for
that's all
sure.
their own. So you're gonna, you're gonna feel how you feel about Coheed, and that'll help you with any of their albums. Let's do a little bit of extra credit real quick. I want to, just mention anything we didn't mention already from albums we didn't include on this list.
They did Jesse's Girl Part 2. They did a sequel to that song, and it's so sick.
I don't particularly care for it, but
It sucked my.
I don't like sequels to songs that are especially
Ladies,
not by the
ladies,
original artist.
ladies.
What even
Let's
is
calm
that?
down.
I don't even know, but I like that song. If I could.
Hey, no, more power to you. I'm glad. I mean, I'm not saying like fuck you. I don't know. I just came out of it came out of left field, and I wasn't feeling it. I don't know.
Jeez.
I do Domino the Destitute on the Afterman Descent. I think it's on Dissension. That song is my favorite Coheed song. It's just such a badass song, man. And actually, it's on the other one. It's on Ascension, but there's also Century the Defiant.
Send this.
Those are just both such great albums, honestly. I mean, the whole spaceman thing and him being trapped in that alternate like universe, and he's going through the memories of the previous astronaut that went through the same shit. It's just all so fucked up but so tight, and it feels sci-fi horror to me almost in a lot of ways, and I just really love the way it's executed, and I couldn't rightfully do a Coheed episode and not talk about those 2 albums. So
Hell yeah.
but yeah, if you guys want to mention anything else we didn't already cover, we did cover a good chunk, but there's another like 4 or 5 albums in the mix. So
The one album that I almost threw on there because I do really like it a lot, but I didn't because I didn't want to exceed my limit, is No World for Tomorrow. I really like that one.
I
Lots
feel
of
like
great
that one
songs.
doesn't get as
songs
much
on there.
love
Yeah.
as it should.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that one is so sick.
Yeah,
I love
so
that
I
one.
mean,
yeah.
the first 8 songs are great. To be honest with you, like No World for Tomorrow is one of my favorite Coheed songs.
Fucking
Feathers, which
Gravemakers
was
and
mentioned.
Gunslingers,
Yeah.
dude.
Mother
Hell yeah.
Superior is excellent. Yeah,
Mother
that's one of the albums that I
Superior.
wish we would have thrown on here, but like I said, I didn't want to go more than 6. I felt like 6 was pushing it.
That's
But
all right.
yeah,
You can do
other
as
than
many as
that,
you want
I
going
mean, I
forward.
do like Ascension, Dissension, the Afterman ones. Those are both great albums. I think I liked Ascension a little bit more if I remembered correctly. That's the one with the blue one. Yeah, that cover. Yeah.
I like Descension because it's darker.
Yeah. Good Night, Fair Lady, The Afterman, Mothers of Men. Yeah, those are great songs. But yeah, it's just like there's so many albums like that would be just super long for us to kind of go through. So, like I said, I wanted to pick the ones that kind of started them up and kind of where they're at,
Yeah, another one on No World for Tomorrow you didn't mention is a sequel to Favorite House Atlantic, The Fall of the House Atlantic, which is a sick ass song. I really love that song. And it's so many years later too, so it works. But yeah. You guys got anything?
Yeah, everybody seems to hate it, but Year of the Black Rainbow is such a sweet album, and it's
need to
shocking
listen
you
to that
guys
one
don't
more.
like it because it's actually produced by your boy Atticus Ross. So that is a little interesting. I'm not sure if you guys care, but anyways, it was a sweet album. Like I said, it
I
has
love
one of my
Atticus
favorite.
Ross, but yeah.
Who's that? But I really love like that song, that Pearl of the Stars song that's on this album. And there's a few others. The Shattered Symphony. This one just kind of to me has like a really grander tone. Like I don't know. It would be like if Star Wars, if they had a Star Wars theme for their music, it would have come from this album.
Hell
It's
yeah.
funny because this album is a prequel to their other albums, so it's basically the prequel trilogy. if you want to put it in
Yeah.
there.
Look, and I've always advocated for those ones, but
Man, I
maybe
watched
not
Phantom Menace on May the
maybe not
4th.
Phantom. Look, Phantom's rough. It's got the best fighting scene in it, but it's like in one of the worst movies that they have. But
I mean, that movie fucking sucks, dude. Nothing happens in that movie for so long, and then this is the first time watching it on May the 4th. I know this is not about Coheed, but May the 4th was yesterday, and I watched that movie because of it. And why the fuck is the podcast racer fucking idiot. Anyway, the pod racer scene, why is that scene so goddamn long? That scene is excessively long. What the fuck?
It's a bit much.
They needed to show you that Anakin was a pilot, bro.
I mean, Anakin is
Don't you say it. He is a pussy. He's a pussy as a
That's
kid. and he's a
your
pussy as a
favorite
kid.
villain, dude. That's your favorite villain. You're
no,
talking
Darth
about.
Vader rules for show.
Anakin sucks.
Anakin's a badass shit.
Another song,
Maybe not
Here We
Lil
Are.
Wayne.
Here We Are Juggernaut on that album is also really good. I like that song.
Yeah.
The one song that I really just don't like on that album is Guns of Summer. Like, what the hell is the deal with the way that song starts?
Pretty weird. Yeah, it's not really a favorite of mine either. It's got a strange structure to it. It's kind of just strange overall.
Try some stuff. Come on.
No, yeah, and
Dude.
that's what's cool about that, you know. Like and he's done that. Like Prize Fighter Inferno is the other band that, and that story ties into Coheed as well. So he does go. He steps outside his fucking wheelhouse for sure. Like I said, Claudio is a badass. I don't even like Prize Fighter, but I respect that he did that side project. It's just weird. Yeah, he rules.
He'll get you.
Well, let's jump into our impact and legacy on these guys because I think they are going to be they're like our version of Pink Floyd. I mentioned it. Like they're a progressive rock band with a pretty big following. I mean, they should be much bigger than they are, but I'm sure his voice probably holds it back for some people because people are.
I mean, it didn't really hold Rush back. I don't think it holds them back that much. That's what I always say. If anyone's like, "Well, his voice is weird," I'm like, "What? You don't like fucking Rush? Like one of the biggest bands of all time? Like get fucked."
Geddy Lee, baby.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think people these days are so much more critical of vocals because you'll hear them talk shit about all these guys with unique voices, and it's like, well, what do you want? You want everybody to sound like fucking Gavin Rossdale or some shit? Like, come on.
No, it sucks.
I like Bush, but I just think he has a really monotone, regular sounding voice. Like, like he's not anything special. So it's
Don't let our days go.
Yeah, it's like the most 90s voice ever, dude.
Nah, 90s voice is Eddie Vedder, bro.
Fucking pussy ass Scott Stapp.
Eddie Vedder, Scott Stapp, fucking Chad Kroger, they all had that twang in their voice.
Twang.
Kill me now.
Heaven's girls.
As far as legacy, yeah, it's weird to try to guess if certain bands that we are really into, because they kind of came up when we were growing up, are going to hold on to having some form of legacy. You kind of have an idea of certain bands that are already going to do that, whether that's, as much as Brandon's going to hate me saying this, bands like Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, those kind of bands, those bands have those lasting legacies. These newer bands
2 out of 3
that we're kind of listening into, I mean, whether it's Coheed or, maybe some of these rappers we've covered, like you can't really know quite yet. I feel like though with this band, they've been so impactful in, the not only the rock scene, but the progressive rock scene that you can't not mention them, I feel like they kind of shaped a lot of musicians that we have nowadays and are probably influential to a lot of musicians nowadays. Because, these guys were influenced by Led Zeppelin and shit like that. Like, what's to say that a band like this is not going to be an influence to a future band? So I think they will have a legacy later on down the road when we get older, for sure.
Have they won any major awards?
I don't think so.
I think they've been nominated for a Grammy or two.
They've definitely, they probably.
Brandon, can you pull that up for us real quick?
I think Welcome Home, that one had to have
Welcome
won a Grammy.
That had to have won some type of award, like MTV Pop Drop It Award or something, whatever they do.
Best album, Metal Hammer Golden Gods Award, whatever the fuck that is.
Golden Gods.
Oh, they got an MTV U Woody Award.
the thing to me about
So they're
they've
hitting the
been
stratosphere.
they've been a band for like 25, almost 30 years. So I mean, like
Right.
they have a little
They
bit of
have, yeah.
like Welcome Home again that's just an identifiable song. Everybody's going to know that song. That's what gets you into that point. And I think I know there are a lot of bands that have been influenced by Coheed already. I couldn't name them because I haven't really kept up with this shit. A few years ago, I could have told you that. I don't really remember. I remember reading bands that were around now that were mentioning Coheed was a huge influence on their sound and their structure for songwriting, but fucking could not tell you one of those bands just because, like I said, I'm a hot mess when it comes to music these days. I'm all over the place. So, but I think they are a dominant progressive rock band. So that's going to leave their mark right there. They've already been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
That's just how I
progressive
feel.
rock's always going to have like its niche audience where, from there'd be fans of Pink Floyd to Between the Buried and Me to Coheed, and just because they share that progressive gene, there's just going to be fans of that style. Like me, I love that kind of shit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. They're very unique in that regard too, so they're going to stand out in general. Like I said, can you name another band who has used their entire career to tell you a story like this? I can't personally. I'm sure there are. I'm just saying I can't think of one because I think when I think of that type of thing, Coheed is the first thing that comes to mind. So, yeah. What do you got for us next week, Danny? What's on the agenda for that?
Oh yes, next week we're going to go down the filmography road of a little guy named James Cameron.
So excited.
Probably one of the most
Hell yeah, man.
influential directors still working today. I thought I would do some of the earlier stuff. I am not going to make us watch either Avatar, although if you do want to watch it,
both.
go ahead and watch it. But I do want to do, I'm thinking of doing Terminator, Aliens, Terminator 2, Titanic, and
Let's get the
True
Abyss,
Lies.
all right.
True Lies, yeah.
I'm glad you didn't leave Titanic out. I'm glad. I want to talk about that
Titanic
one.
sucks.
What?
does
No,
not.
I
We
think
gotta watch
Titanic is an
Titanic?
oppressive achievement in film. So fuck
It
you.
was.
Overrated.
You're
That's too bad.
overrated.
That's
Look,
too bad.
Look, there was
For sure.
room on the door for him, whatever.
No,
Yeah, that
they,
bitch murdered
They disproved
Leo.
that theory already.
Look,
Many
you know what?
times.
It's just like that shit. What Ben Affleck said to Michael Bay. Can't isn't it easier to teach astronauts how to drill than it is to teach drillers to go be astronauts? And he just said, "Shut the fuck up." That's what somebody said to James Cameron about the door. They're like, it's weird. It's kind of big. It looked like he could get on there too. And he said, "Shut the fuck up."
It's not the
Someone's
point,
gotta
dude.
die for this to
Her
get you
true
right.
love had to die, so
She's
could
gonna
live.
tell him she will never let go, and then proceed to let go.
People just need to watch the Screen Rant shit more often. Like the guy will question, like, "Why does this happen?" He's like, "So the movie can happen." That's the same shit
Right.
you got to remember.
I mean,
Exactly.
you're
movie's
not
gotta
wrong.
happen.
The movie's gotta happen. So
A
however
movie's
they
a
get
movie,
there.
man.
And movies there to entertain you. It ain't there to be fucking 100% accurate in every regard in terms of accuracy. I hate when people nitpick that bullshit.
Look, I let it go all the time. I let go every car movie where somehow their automatic has 30 gears that just makes them go faster.
Oh, hell
Like,
yeah,
oh no,
man.
I'm going 150 in fifth gear or eighth gear. Here's ninth. Bam! Bam! Like it's I let things go, but let me have the few I nitpick.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. That's
Jeez.
fair. I am excited to talk about James Cameron, though. I think that'll be a good one. Anyway, fellas, any closing thoughts on Coheed and Cambria before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah. Brandon can attest to this because he came to visit me. We went to go see Primus and they were opening for them. And we fucking missed it because they started playing. They started playing earlier than the ticket said that the time was in. So we heard the last 3 songs, but we didn't really see them. That really sucked. But
That's
it was
so
a blessing
lame.
in disguise. It was a blessing in disguise because it was like fucking almost like 100 degrees out. It was so
Yeah, they're playing
blistering
during
hot.
the day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I had an episode that night anyways from the fucking heat and other things. So, but yeah, that was
Extracurricular
disappointing.
activities.
So when they do come back around again, I do want to go see them. I think they're coming back in September. I might have to go shoot up and see them in Portland, but we'll see if it happens.
You're gonna shoot up and go see
Yeah,
him?
please don't shoot up anything.
Get that twist.
Conversely, Rex, the next time they come near our way, I'll grab us some tickets because
Yeah, we'll
if you haven't
definitely
seen
need to
them,
go. I need to see them. Just like
they're-
Atmosphere. I've missed him so many times, and I've got no real good excuse.
well, we've all got that band. I feel that way about Tool, so I got to see them next time I get the chance.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, this has been Coheed and Cambria. I am your host, Practical.
Danny boy.
It's Rex.
And I've been Brandon. I gotta go pee.
Oh yeah, he's got to go pee.
PP.
You've
gotta
We'll
been
be-
catch you
Brandon?
guys
That's funny.
next
Drain
week.
that lizard.
He's been Brandon. He's always been Brandon.
He's always been a paperback
Who?
bitch.
Hey.
It's not very nice. We'll see you next week, guys.